Hey guys, it's me, GeoCoons, back again with another talking video. Cause life's hard. But apparently my last time I spoke like this, it got a little bit of a reaction. You know, I'm pretty sure a lot of people have stories similar to that. Being able to, make friends and stuff like that. But being a gamer, I'm gonna add more to what I said in the last video. Being a gamer back in the day was really difficult. It was really hard to, because I said in the last video, it was kind of demonized almost. Like, this has been a thing since tabletop gaming. If you were into D&D back in the 80s, oh, you were a Satanist, because most of the books and the demons and the things, yeah, whatever. But being a gamer back in the day, like I said before, I grew up with the Nintendo. Eventually, as years went by, the Super Nintendo and the Sega Genesis, and so forth. I could still remember my fondest memories with certain games. Like, some games just stay in my head for a lifetime, and that shows the effect of how well made some of these games were for the time. Like, a lot of people take for granted how good a game is based on how much effort was put to make that game stand out. Like, nowadays, people will more likely complain more about technical issues more than the game itself. Like, we'll talk about frame rate drops, which is a valid complaint. I'm not saying it's not. I'm saying, like, these are the things that people will most likely complain about now. Frame drops, HD quality. It's rare that I hear somebody complain about HD quality, but I have seen it in a couple of forums, and it's kind of weird. But I think that's more of their monitor than anything. Like, if you're having an issue, that's not the game's fault. Graphics, everybody's damn near a graphics whore now, but with certain games that have huge success without having high-end graphics, such as Minecraft, Fortnite. Now, granted, I don't care for Fortnite, but I will say this: it has made a huge success on pop culture alone, because that game, that's a whole nother talk. But anywho, back to the subject. A lot of the things that we complained about back then, we had the console wars that started between the Super Nintendo and the Sega Genesis. I mean, granted, people can argue there was a war between the original Nintendo and the Sega Master System, but it didn't come close to the war between Super Nintendo and Sega Genesis. Like, it was a serious thing. Nobody ever had both. You either had one or the other. Console wars today are more about the graphics, the exclusives, the controller. Hell, even the fucking controller is the issue. But back when I was growing up, it was more about just the games that you wanted to play. Like, if I wanted to play Final Fight, I had to have a Super Nintendo. But Sega always had an answer. So while Super Nintendo had Final Fight, Sega had Streets of Rage. Sometimes they had games that they shared, like Rocket Knight was the Sega Genesis game, and Super Nintendo had Sparkster. They're the same character, the same franchise, but they were executed so differently. There were certain things that one could do that the other couldn't. Basically, what I'm trying to get at is gaming today is not nearly as passionate. Like, the creators aren't as passionate. Not saying that they aren't doing a great job, because a lot of them, like, with fucking Doom coming back, that game was amazing. Like, they found a way to reboot the series in a way that it didn't take away from it. I mean, you got the fucking metal music, the quick action. Hell, there's not even a reload animation in this game. You just fucking go. But it's just, games today are more about technicalities, or more technical than they were back in the day, and I kind of miss that. I kind of miss the passion projects back then. Like, it would blow your fucking mind to play an arcade game on a console back then. Like, Turtles in Time, for example. The arcade version was amazing, but the fact that you could play it at home on your Super Nintendo. Granted, you didn't have that 4-player option, but it was the fact that you could do it, and sometimes even hearing voice acting was just mind-blowing. Like, some games have voice acting. Like, again, Turtles in Time, each stage had, Big Apple, 3 a.m., or Cowabunga, like, things like that. And it would just blow your mind, because it's just like, wow, it sounds just like, oh my god. And then you had games like Mortal Kombat and stuff like that. There was just so much that we take for granted nowadays in the gaming world. Like, I'm not trying to say that you aren't allowed to have an opinion. I'm not saying that you're not allowed to complain about something, because there's plenty of games out there that I will bitch and moan about for decades to this day. But I remember the games that left an impression on me, like, for instance, the PlayStation 1, there was one game that left a huge impression on me, and it wasn't even a big title. It wasn't Spyro, it wasn't Tekken, it wasn't Crash Bandicoot. Hell, that was a big one. Believe it or not, it was just a random game that my mom picked out of a yard sale one day, not a yard sale, a flea market. And it was still when the PlayStation was the big thing, and there was this big flea market where they had sealed PS1 games for sale. And she just saw one and just thought about me, and I was like, hey, I found this at the flea market, play it. And I was like, okay, cool. I look at it, and it's Buster Groove. Now, a lot of you may confuse it with the Bubble Bobble Dragons game called Bust a Move. But no, Buster Groove was a dancing game. And not like in a sense of DDR dancing, where you would need like a step pad or anything. No, this was with your controller. And if you want to know what this game was like, just look it up. You can look it up on YouTube. For me, this game left such a huge impression, because it was like, I'm having fun with a game about music, and I don't understand why. And then it hit me that there's a possibility for rhythm games. Games that involve having rhythm. And this one, it had a bar and a square on top of whatever dancer you picked, because you would have different dancers who had different steps, or in this case, movesets. And what would happen is it would flash with the beat of whatever stage you're on. Like, if you're going up against, I'm going to name drop some characters here, so if you don't know who they are, you can look them up. Like, let's say I'm going up against Heat. That was a character. His would be, his music would be da 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 da, and that would be the rhythm you're following. You have to hit the buttons in the rhythm. Or if it was difficult, you would have someone like Gasso, who has like this metal / breakdance music, and it would flash hella fast, so you have to hit it. So there was some kind of skill, but at the same time, you're just basically doing what the game tells you to do, based on difficulty, of course. If you had it on easy mode, your moves weren't that hard to do. If you had it on normal, you had to hit a couple extra buttons, but when you got it on hard, you have to hit everything. Like, I'm talking, you're hitting the whole controller. But games like that leave an impression because it opened me up to other genres. Because, like I said in the last video, Final Fantasy opened me up to role-playing games and opened my mind to games can be more than just a couple stages and done. Bust a Groove opened me up to the fact that there's so much you can do in the form of a game that would expand other people into getting into it. You know, because you got your puzzle games, you got your fighting games, you got your adventure games, you got your multiplayer games. You got so much now. There's so many games out now that I just want to try. Like, there are games that I don't even finish sometimes because there's so many other games. Back then, we would wait, in order for us to get a patch for a game like Street Fighter 2, we had to wait for Street Fighter 2 Turbo. And then Street Fighter 2 Championship Edition and such like that. These were just basically adding characters and patching, which became kind of the norm. Essentially, that was the 90s version of DLC. We had to buy an entirely new game. So, it's like, I just want everybody to know that gaming is going to forever be a passionate thing, but I feel like a lot of people take it for granted and are letting that passion turn into cynical, kind of arrogant, kind of self-entitled. A lot of people are kind of self-entitled, but again, that's all you can do that. And I know I've just been kind of rambling from topic to topic, because this is all coming out of my head, and I just kind of wanted to talk about it. So yeah, like games like Bust a Groove, Jet Set Radio. I'm trying to think of other games. There's this one was a good one. Yu-Gi-Oh! The Forbidden Memories was a game on the PlayStation 1. And again, I wasn't into card games past Pokemon at the time. Pokemon was huge in the 90s. Fucking huge. Like, it's big today, but back then it swarmed the nation. Like, we would see that shit on the news. Card collecting. Honestly, there you go. Pokemon got me into card games. I started off with Pokemon, moved on to Yu-Gi-Oh!, then Magic the Gathering. This is the impression and the power that games have. One thing can lead to another simply from how interesting that game is. So, yeah. Like, one person could be playing, like, a game like The Movies or something on PC, and all of a sudden, oh shit, I like sim games, so I'm gonna play other sim games. And don't ask about The Movies, because that game is honestly all just, you make a movie with Sims. But yeah, I just want everybody to know that my passion for gaming is always going to be there, no matter what, no matter how weird games get. Like, yeah, we got the PS5 and the Xbox Series X, but nothing will compare to classics, which is why a lot of games go back into the retro style because they realize a lot of the gaming market is more appreciative of what you can do with less than what you can do with more. Like, you can make the most realistic looking game and people will play it, they will buy it, they will say it's amazing, and then you won't hear about it for another week. Once it's done, once it's had its time in the light, it's gone. Like, it's like that. Games like Super Mario Brothers 3 still gets talked about. People still put that on their top favorite games list. People still love that game. We have new Mario games, and somehow those games are still considered one of the best. Because it did more with less. And that's what I think this drive comes from. I don't get it. I just don't understand why it's hard for people to understand that there are people like me who appreciate gaming as an art, as a means of escape, as a means to be yourself. You are in your own zone. This is your world. You can do what you want in that world. But like I said, it's a difficult time. It was a very difficult time, the 90s for me. So just don't take your games for granted, because you never know. One day you're going to realize that gaming influenced a lot of what you do. It influenced a lot of how you are. Because for me, it's just like seeing an old friend every time I turn on a game. It's like you haven't seen somebody for so long, you pop in that old, let's say I pop in good old Turtles in Time, and the memories just come right back. It's like meeting an old friend again. You missed them, you give them a hug, you say, hey, how you been? You looking great. Just don't take what you have today for granted, because back in the day we had to try harder with less, and we have memories that will last us lifetimes. I'm Geo Coons, and I hope my rambling didn't confuse a lot of people, because I know I talk in circles, but I'm just trying to open up a bit more, you know? But just game on and enjoy what you enjoy. Don't let anyone ever tell you that you're too old, it's for kids, or it's for kids only. Gaming is for everyone. Everyone needs an escape. Even you. So, I'm GeoCoons, and thanks for listening, and I hope to see you in the next stream, next video. Leave a comment below, because I would like to hear some of your experiences with games from your past. Like, I would like to hear stories of what game affected you the most, what game touched you the most. See you guys next time. Later, dudes.